For someone who wants to improve their cognitive abilities each day, maybe they're just a regular business person or an athlete who wants to get to that next level. Maybe there's someone who's overcoming trauma, or maybe there's someone who wants to prolong or remove the probability of the onset of things like Alzheimer's and dementia. What type of things can they be doing on a daily basis, or is it very much dependent on what their situation and their goals?
It's fascinating because, again, we have a lot of tools at our disposal. There's a lot of stuff out there that you can see in the world of like brain training and this and that and all these sorts of like cognitive devices and stuff like that out there. But I think it goes back to those very same basics. It's like we have a real problem still in modern neuroscience, which is like you have a frame of thinking. And then what we need to do is we need to throw stuff on top of this blank slate. So James wants to perform better. He wants to think better. He wants to cognitively be more engaged. So we're going to throw stuff on top of James's brain to enable him to be able to do so. What we need to do is understand that the brain is this amazing, again, self-organized entity that's dynamic and interconnected. And almost as you said there, what we need to do is often just kind of step out of the way. Let's remove the things that could be hindering us from having that level of cognition or that level of performance that we need. And I can promise you, any success that I've had in the level of professional sport, lucky enough to have been to the Olympic Games, the World Series, the NHL playoffs, it's not about what can I add in for these people. It's about what can I remove so they can just be as great as they inherently are. And it's no different for somebody coming off of a surgical repair, somebody that's getting ready for the World Series. And so for me, it goes back to basic fundamentals. What are the things that we can do to mechanically and fundamentally stimulate the brain to do these amazing things? So one would be this whole idea of what is stress for you becomes ultimately important. And this is something that we can now model using technology in real time and be able to understand, okay, well, how do we put people in a zone, inverted U stress curve, which I use all the time? Is like, no stress is no good. So you're under stressed. Then you have this, what you call allostatic overload. You have too much stress. That's no good either. There's a zone in the middle that's kind of like caution. You could go one way or another. And then there's a nice little like flow zone, a nice little sweet spot where it's like, oh, you have all the nice, amazing, wonderful things that the stress system is designed for, which is primarily acute in nature. So how do we then just manage these sorts of variables around to be able to put people in that zone where they can inherently be productive? So then it goes to, are they moving enough? Are they sleeping well enough? What is their nutrition like? Like, what is their social environment? If that person is in an environment where their basic needs are being challenged and they are maybe in a weird sort of relationship where there are so many things, again, because biology is so dynamic, that are not going to enable them to perform. So for us, oftentimes it's like, how do we start by stripping some of the stuff away that could be impeding on somebody from getting where they are to where they want to go? And then very basics. How are you moving? Because if movement, again, exercise, and we're going to speak, let's speak specifically aerobic exercise. Let's say you're going out one intensity at a pace that you can keep a conversation where you're using oxygen primarily as a fuel source and not too much lactate. You can actually make new neurons there. So it's like you can actually be building new neurons. And this can be in your 7th, 8th decade of life. You can be building new neurons that can be useful in these areas that you need to be able to mitigate stress. So I would say if we had to choose, okay, are you going to just tell somebody to exercise versus go on this cognitive brain training app? 100%, because the brain doesn't work top down, it works inside out. It's an approach that's based pretty fundamental, but it's about restoring those basic things that have enabled us to evolve to get to where we are right now.